We're going to have the Mike Tomlin conversation, debate some of the awards, and react to your hottest takes today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase.
Joe, happy Friday to you here on the show. Happy Victory Monday to the Seattle Seahawks. Coming off of one of the most regrettable games that I stayed up to watch all season long.
I stayed up for the whole thing, too. How did this happen?
Because it was a 3-point game. And you're sitting here wondering, wishing, hoping Caleb Williams maybe makes some magic happen. And instead we get on the plus side of the 50, need a field goal to tie. And it's just, we're just going to take 3-point shots from the logo, trying to hit these throws down the field in the final minute of this game. And it did happen. And it really makes you ask some questions.
The week between Christmas and New Year's is always very difficult to keep track of anything, right? Especially what day of the week it is.
Yeah. Having
the NFL games that happened on Wednesday did not help. When I tell you I woke up yesterday thinking it was Monday, I'm telling you, dude, I'm absolutely in La La Land, and thankful to be here ready to do takes on a Friday.
And just so you know, no shows the next 2 days as a result because it's Friday.
Thank you.
And then we'll get the real Monday in 3 days, and we'll be back on schedule.
I just showed up tomorrow morning ready to record the Week 17 reaction, Kyle.
Yeah, man, you got a earful about that.
Yeah.
Yo, where you at?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it'd been weird.
Did the dudes and dudettes show up with the take? Like, where they at? Or did they show up with takes? Big time?
They always do. They always do. I have 9 queued up for today.
9,
3,
okay.
Yeah, 3 in each segment. So, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Start with CT, who would like to revisit a take from last year. And if we didn't get this from multiple people, I'd have left it in the holster. But I think people want to talk about this, so we will. The Steelers and Mike Tomlin should consider mutually parting. The repetitive cycle of 8 to 10 wins plus no postseason success is the embodiment of insanity. My suggestion, Tomlin to the G-men of the Steelers to hire Johnson or Cohen, a potential win-win.
Let me ask you a question. Why would Mike Tomlin ever want to go to the Steelers, to go from the Steelers organization to the Giants organization?
I don't think you would.
Like, hey, Mike, we want you to leave this perpetual contender, and I know to the degree of which it's a contender is the entire point of the take, in which you have built a culture and go to the worst team in the league that has no players, start from scratch, and have to play in a division with Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's not even like he's going somewhere where there's less franchise quarterbacks playing in the AFC North right now, where you got to deal with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson.
Honestly, Kyle, I think that's probably the most important part of the Mike Tomlin conversation. And first of all, let me acknowledge I'm friends with a lot of Steelers fans, and so many of them really don't like Mike Tomlin. They want him gone. And I feel like so much of that conversation probably ignores, like you mentioned, this is a division with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. It might be the best quarterback division in the NFL. But also,
and you don't have one, and you're still
right, dude. They're not that far away from Ben. They tried one thing. They drafted Kenny Pickett, right? That's the one thing that they did. And then they did the Russ Wilson, Justin Fields thing. And I know that for like the Steelers, that's worked in the past with like a Tommy Maddox type pickup or whatever, and they wind up being pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the bigger conversation with Mike Tomlin, obviously Super Bowl winning coach, a lot of success. He also was in Pittsburgh during the prime of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Like, circumstantially, it's just very unfortunate. Like, you were the
bad time to be alive.
You just were. I'm a little bit living that right now,
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm sorry, man. It's grass is not always greener. I understand there can be a lot of disappointment with Mike Tomlin because there's this thought that he holds the team back in some way. But I think in the NFL, it's way more about being as good as you can for as long as you can and hope to have some good fortune along the way.
Yeah.
And that's what Tomlin's giving them. And I'm sorry that you haven't replaced Ben Roethlisberger yet.
How many times do we have to watch a player leave Pittsburgh and their entire career fall off the rails?
It's a great point.
We just watched that with Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
Again, it happened again. It'll probably happen when George Pickens when the time comes.
Oh,
right?
brother, guarantee it. I guarantee it.
So if you were to move on from Mike Tomlin, I think the probability of finding something better, people always want to romanticize about the idea of something better. And the likelihood of finding it, I think, is very close to zero because of Tomlin and the culture that he's created and the brand of football that they play there. And if you bring, like, who is your desired hire? I would love to hear from people that want to fire Mike Tomlin. Like, who do you want to hire?
They want Liam. This person wants Ben Johnson or Liam Cohen.
Okay.
All right. Phil says, as Jairo Avero moves on from Carolina and the Panthers bring in Robert Saleh for defense next year. Interesting thing about this is Dave Tepper would not let Avero out of that contract last year. So he held him hostage only for him to, I guess, move on this year. That'd be a tough scene.
I'm going to say no on this, and the only reason is because Robert Saleh is destined to land with someone off the Shanahan tree. He's going to go back with one of his buddies to coach. He already did it by landing with LaFleur for the rest of this season as a consultant.
Yeah.
Whether that's San Francisco has had an underwhelming season. Does he go back there?
Not if Brandon Staley's in the building, I don't think so.
Does Anthony Weaver get plucked for a head coaching job in Miami? You can see him coming down and be the defensive coordinator for McDaniel.
Do I want that? Do I want Saleh to be with the Dolphins?
The one thing I admire about Saleh and his defenses was they find a way to push some buttons for Josh.
They sure do. That's what I'm thinking. I like Weaver.
Weaver.
I don't know about Saleh. Get him out.
So I will say no, because I think Saleh is going to end up with an old friend and a familiar face.
Yeah, I agree with that. Joe at work coming in here saying that all three NFC wildcard teams advanced to the divisional round of the playoffs. Says Commanders over Eagles, Packers over Rams, Vikings over Bucks.
Man, I have hard time passing on Philly.
Right, especially if Jalen's ready
We're
to go.
assuming Jalen Hurts is healthy and ready to go. And
that game's different if he plays, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to say no. It's a good take.
That game's different if Devonta Smith catches one pass.
Right.
Right. All right, we've got surprise coach firing and a little Saquon Barkley, Jamar Chase. Yeah, here on the other side of it. Stick with us. There's nothing like being at the stadium, Kyle. We've been to some fun games. We did the Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, LSU Bama game in 2019. We were there for Ravens Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. Big comeback win from Miami. We saw Aaron Rodgers against Josh Allen in Buffalo. Get to games, man. Some of our most favorite memories are being at games. And if you want to get to games, you got to go to Game Time. Game Time is the fast and easy way to purchase tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. The app is awesome. You get a picture from your seat, so you pick the seat. You know exactly what it's going to look like when you get to the stadium. They send the tickets straight to your phone, so you have to dig through emails to find them. They give you flash deals. That's been cool. Sometimes I just go on Game Time. The next thing I know, I'm getting offered a great deal on an event that I'm interested in. Plus, I love this, man. They specialize in last-minute tickets, so you can get a great price on a ticket right up until the day of the event. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Kyle Krabs. This next one is from Matt, who says, every year there is a surprise head coach firing.
There are, yes.
This year, it will be Miami head coach Mike McDaniel, but they keep GM Chris Grier. They're firing Mike because of his inability to win against teams above 500. Second part to my take is that Miami will hire Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn.
No. I just watched Stephen Ross go down and give Mike McDaniel a game ball for the game against San Francisco to beat his old mentor. And
oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Forget about it.
McDaniel's giving out the game balls, and you hear he's getting ready to move on, and you hear the voice in the background say, "We got one more ball." The camera cuts, and it's Stephen Ross comes walking in. Game ball, Mike McDaniel. And he tosses it to him. And they put some pictures out after the game against San Francisco. And had like Ross down on the field with Tom Garfinkel, who's like the CEO, his right-hand man. And that group usually moves with Chris Grier. And you know who wasn't in any of the pictures?
Oh, Christopher Grier.
Christopher Grier. So Mike McDaniel has a lot of growth to do as a head coach. I think that's necessary. I think he learned some unfortunate lessons this year that were avoidable. And there's things that have been problems for 3 years that continue to be problems. But I think there's a belief in what that program is building. And I think they need someone with a different mentality to foil Mike and his ideologies because Chris is too passive at times. So I think the tea leaves on the wall based off Stephen Ross and how he handled the last home win and Mike McDaniel, that reads as a vote of confidence for me. So I'm going to say no.
Before you came with that answer and gave any of the information, I was ready to say I think the exact opposite is more likely, where they keep McDaniel and Grier's the one they let go of. And I think there's a significant, like for every team, it's significant to move on from a head coach. But I think especially in Miami where, I mean, Tua's optimized under Mike McDaniel. And I don't know, you know, like I get nervous about what coach you would hire that's going to be able to get that out of Tua. And I feel like the commitment there leads to it should be a long leash to me on Mike McDaniel. So, all right. Yeah, we're both out on that. So it seems like
spike the ball if it happens, spike the ball.
How it goes. Aiden says Saquon Barkley and Jamar Chase should split this season's Offensive Player of the Year award if Barkley breaks the rushing record and Chase wins the Triple Crown. That'd be a heck of a scenario, man, if we get both of those things this year.
Yeah. You know what I don't like? Ties.
Yeah, I don't like splitting awards. Which one's more impressive? So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to take it to that place. Which one would impress you more?
When's the last time somebody won the Triple Crown?
Didn't Cooper Kupp just do it?
Oh, okay. Then I'd probably take
the first time ever?
I'd probably take Saquon Barkley winning or breaking the rushing record because that would be a thing that never happened before.
That's interesting. That's a compelling argument.
Be like, oh, I could pick the guy who just did the thing that happened 3 seasons ago, or I could pick the thing that's never been done. I'll pick the thing that's never been done.
What I'm trying to convince myself of in my head is which statistical performance is they're a beneficiary of their situation. Like the Bengals defense and how bad they are helps Jamar Chase get a lot of those yards. I am not taking any away from Jamar Chase, but if they didn't have to score 40 points to win a game, you know, maybe those volume stats are less robust. Saquon Barkley feels like he's more of a catalyst, but it's like every time I see Saquon Barkley stats, it's like, well, he's got 109 rushing yards. 101 of them come before contact. It's like, man, Barkley's really good, but he certainly benefits from that offensive line.
That's the point, though.
I know, I understand that, but I'm trying to think of like which statistical performance, which is outstanding, is more rooted in the player than it is the
Let
circumstance.
me ask you, which player is a more ancillary piece of the entire identity of their offense?
I think that's a great question.
It's probably the guy who wasn't there last year, right? What is the Cincinnati Bengals offense?
Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Throwing the ball, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Period. In Philly, you got Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a runner. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devonta Smith. You got Dallas Goedert. You got Saquon Barkley, and he was the last piece of the puzzle.
I might lean Chase here, Kyle.
And the only reason you would do that is because it's a running back.
Partly, yeah, I think that's part of it. But I think I'm more impressed in how Chase was able to get the yards. I think it's more reliant on his ability to get open when everybody knows he's getting the ball, as opposed to, now this guy's got 2 great receivers, a mobile quarterback, and a great offensive line. Let's pound the rock, baby. We got 2 of the softest.
Isn't the argument
literally the 3 of the worst run defenses in the NFL, and the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Commanders in that division? That's 6 of his games. I'm in on Chase.
All right.
Soft defenses in the East. August says, this might be one of the most aggressive takes we've ever gotten. August says all 6 2024 first-round quarterbacks will receive second contracts with the teams that drafted them.
No. That is a statistical impossibility.
That would blow my mind.
With the way the quarterback market is going.
Here's the thing: is the Tua class was that 19 or 20? It was 20.
That was 20.
They all did, but there's only 4, right?
So it's, I think the top 5 all did, because you throw Jalen Hurts in there.
Jalen Hurts. Okay. The Sam Darnold year, obviously Darnold only 2 did.
Right.
Jackson and Allen, the other 3 didn't. I think this would be very aggressive. I would say that there's 6 of them. I think at least 2 probably won't. This stuff changes fast, man, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah, there's guys that have played well as rookies that go up and spoke, like Baker
Mac
Mayfield.
Jones. Yeah, Baker Mayfield.
I mean, you sat here thinking about Baker Mayfield. He set the rookie touchdown pass record in a single season
for the Browns.
He said, man, they nailed it. 3 years later, he's the sacrificial lamb that they're throwing into the bus.
Insane.
Jarvis and Odell stomp around, not getting the ball enough. Yeah, I'll pass on all 6. And if you get that, come back in 4 years and spike the ball directly on top.
But not 3 years. Not 3 years. August wanted to spike the ball before the thing was ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, hit him with a good gift. It was a good gift play by me. I'll celebrate myself there. Okay, coming up on the other side of it, I got something to go in on based on a take, so stick with us. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, Socialism, and Communism. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. Hillsdale.edu/lockedon. I am bothered by what Oz has submitted.
Okay.
So if I may, I'll read it and I'll give my initial thought here. Oz says, as much as Jared Goff is important to the Lions' success, I think he is a limiting factor in the playoffs. If a quarterback struggles to make plays with their feet and struggles in non-play action scenarios, it's hard to win meaningful playoff games. Any idea where Jared Goff ranks in EPA per dropback without play action this season? 3rd. 1 is Lamar Jackson, 2 is Josh Allen, 3 is Jared Goff without play action. Okay? What are we talking about right here? He's 4-4 in the playoffs. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's been to 2 conference championship games. And you invoke the name, you talk about like winning with your feet Lamar Jackson is 2-4 in the playoffs and has been objectively bad in the postseason. These qualifiers are insane to me. Joe Burrow, not much of a mobile quarterback. Really no play action in that Bengals offense, which I guess helps his argument. But this is such a strange qualifier to me. You have anything to add there?
No, I was just wanting to let you get that off your chest and hopefully feel better.
But what is with can we ever stop with the Jared Goff slander? Like, what does this man need to do to show you that he's a good quarterback?
He doesn't pass the test for the TNA club, quarterback club.
I think he's awesome. And he's, you know what? And there's a leadership factor. Like, people really discredit too much with Jared Goff. It's really kind of wonky to me. Weekly Huddle says, due to Buffalo and Green Bay's success, the next offensive trend will be a move towards versatile, multiple positionless skill players.
Does Green Bay have that?
And I would argue to an extent Buffalo doesn't either.
They just have really deep, young skill groups with versatility. There's versatility, but
not exceptional versatility.
They don't have Cordarrelle Patterson. Where does this guy play? Versatility,
spoiler.
There's a guy like that in this year's draft, by the way.
Who does all the things?
Yeah, who does all the things? Savion Williams from TCU.
We'll get to him at some point.
We will.
You know what? Here's what I'd also say about Buffalo. They're way more role defined than I think people want to admit. Like, Kincaid can play a little inline in the slot, but for pretty much Cooper and Coleman are X receivers. Shakir's a slot.
Right. You've got
Knox is in line. They have specialization with the 3 running backs.
You get a short yardage and third down guy in Ray Davis. You get a receiving guy in Ty Johnson. You get an early down guy in James Cook. Knox is unequivocally the Y. And then Quentin Morris would be probably the second Y before Dalton Kincaid.
Well, it's really an offensive lineman, Alec Anderson. I mean, it's very the point being is it's very defined. Very Curtis Samuel, he's supposed to be the most multiple guy in this offense. The dude doesn't even touch the ball.
Is there a worse role to seek to fulfill in free agency than a third wide receiver on this free agent market?
It's tough
because you're paying decent money.
I think $7-8 million a year for these guys, right?
For a guy that's going to be your fifth option in an offensive attack.
You can't do it, right?
Right.
Don't pay Curtis Samuel $7 million a year. Just draft some fast guy.
Right. It's
can run horizontally, right?
It's the don't pay for depth ideology in fantasy.
Which I sort of agree with that.
Well, in fantasy, right? You get auction dollars. You go out there and you get a budget, right?
Yeah.
It's I could get a waiver claim for somebody's RB2, and there's going to be an injury, and that guy's going to be the starter. It's that same strategy as far as you need a lot of depth, and there's certain positions where the depth is really valuable in actual NFL roster construction. But for wide receivers, where it's such a minimal target role, the dollars are just really hard to justify unless they're an all-star blocker on top of it.
Right, but even then, there's got to be a cap on that, right?
Right.
Some of the receiver deals that I like, that Juwan Jennings deal looks like it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, they probably wish they had a few more years on it.
Right. You know what I mean? You got to be real choosy on that third guy that you're going to pay. Real choosy. And I probably wouldn't. I'd probably just keep drafting players. And I think there's so much merit that you have to put into what option they are for a team and what you should be willing to pay for that.
Right.
Gets a little dicey. But I think some teams might try this, but I don't know. I still think that there's going to be a lot of teams out there that are hey, I want a big time number one receiver that I'm going to pay $35 million a year to and do their thing. I think some teams, I don't think it's going to catch fire though.
Mm-hmm.
Zach wants to talk DPOY. He said, take Nick Bonito or Andrew Van Ginkel deserves DPOY due to their versatility and production beyond sacks, but TJ Watt will win it due to name recognition. He also goes on to say, also only seared ribeyes for Christmas yesterday and didn't finish on the grill or oven. Excellent outcome. Thanks, Joe. You're welcome for that.
Oh, good. I'm glad your hills you're dying on are paying off for people.
Locked on meats. I can handle it. Did you know that Nick Bonito right now has the third highest odds to be the DPOY, and Van Ginkel is fifth? Like these are guys that are getting respect in this conversation.
So Benito, what he had the defensive touchdown. The Van Ginkel's got 2 interceptions and 2 defensive touchdowns. Both guys are at 11 plus sacks. I think it'd be really fun to see one of those guys do it, but I generally agree. I think they're too far off the beaten path for the people that decide such things. Yeah. That makes it unlikely that that's going to happen. People see TJ Watt with 6 forced fumbles and top 5 in the league in sacks, and
his pressures are so far down this year too.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
You know who it's really? I'm really excited for Kyle Van Noy to see him in this list too. He's top 5 in the league in sacks.
He's bing a monster this year.
Yeah.
He's just good for the Ravens, man. Whatever it is they got cooking there.
For their system last year.
Yeah. Pat Surtain is number 2 in odds. CJ Watt is the favorite. And what's interesting about Pat Surtain is I'm not sure he has great splash stats, but I can appreciate his impact on that Denver defense, which is why, no disrespect to Bo Nix in the offense. Like the reason Denver is in position to make the playoffs, I think for the first time since 2015 is defensively. And, certainly Pat Surtain is a big part of that. They got 2 Denver has 2 of the top 3 in highest odds to be the DPOY. Aiden Hutchinson was going to win this award, man. He was,
but they don't give it out after the first month of the season, unfortunately. So you got to play them all and see what happens.
They count all the games. You got to remember that. But Xavier McKinney also having a big year, but
yeah, he just disappeared. He had like 5 in the first month.
Yeah, there is a thing towards like the end of the season and
how your momentum carries.
Yeah.
Derek Stingley's got a decent argument too. He was awesome in the tape that I watched in the build up to the Miami game, and then the Miami game itself. He was awesome.
He had that big surge last year, like at the end of the season too, right?
He looks really good. Is that it for takes?
That's it.
That's all we have.
It's all that I queued up, Kyle. I don't want to talk about Michael Penix and him being the next Patrick Mahomes.
Do you want to talk any more about a 6-3 ball game last night or 31-2 ball game?
31-2. Can't, man. I was watching that game and it's like just kind of felt like I was watching that playoff game from last year between those 2 teams.
Right. I think it's a great call.
And Houston, what's funny is everybody talks about CJ Stroud and all that. I love their defense. I think they play good defense. Obviously, maybe that Baltimore game wasn't the best example. They stress you in some unique ways, but I think there's some nice infrastructure there. They got some things to figure out offensively.
Enjoy the bowl games tonight. There's Armed Forces Bowl of Oklahoma and Navy. We have the Birmingham Bowl with Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt. We have the AutoZone Liberty Bowl with Texas Tech and Arkansas. The Holiday Bowl, DirecTV Holiday Bowl, with Syracuse and Washington State. And then the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl with USC and Texas A&M.
When do the college football playoffs get back on?
Next week.
On the 1st?
Our next college football playoff game, I believe, is a standalone.
Oh, it's Penn State and Boise State.
Penn State, Boise State on New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve, 7:30 p.m.
And then the rest play on New Year's Day.
Ashton Genty against Penn State. Against Abdul Carter.
Yeah, that one's going to get ugly.
Because Ohio State has some pass rushers, right? We get to watch our tackle in that game. That'll be fun.
Dude, Ohio State's got so much talent. It's unreal how much NFL talent they have everywhere.
Always, right? They've got the safety showdown in Notre Dame and Georgia. Starks versus Watt. Mm-hmm. Come on, baby.
Yeah.
I know like 35 players, so it's exciting that I can like say these things right now.
Identify some things with them.
Arizona State, they got some quarterback with a hard name to pronounce, I'm pretty sure.
They have a running back, Cam Scatterbo.
Scatterbo, that's it.
It's
That's
going to be everybody's favorite player because he just has some absolute hilarity with the way that he can run the ball.
He's good, though. He's the guy.
He's a legit pro prospect.
Is he legit? Like, who's that dude from Washington State everybody liked? Wasn't any good. Max Borghi? He's not like that, right?
No, he's not Max Borghi, who got Christian McCaffrey comps because he was a white running back. He's not that. Scatterbo. Let me pull up his. I got my comp.
You already wrote this guy up.
Yeah, I did a write up. Dude, I'm like 100 guys in.
This guy's gonna go. He's that type of guy,
huh? He's got an early day 3 grade for me. His comp is Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
That's a hell of a name, Paul. Remember when they had him? They had like Jarvis Green and they had like Sean Elliott. Every player in the world with those combinations of names, and then had that guy. Yeah,
comped him to the law firm. The guy just runs angry. He's not the fastest guy. People are going to come up with some crazy comps though for him because he runs like Mike Allscott sometimes.
Real physical. Is he like Pacheco?
Yeah, Pacheco's not a bad name doing both.
He don't got that kind of speed, does he?
No. But the angriness of which he runs.
Love that.
There's like some Marion Barber genes in him.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so in Arizona.
Everybody's going to love him.
All right.
So there you go. So no college football playoff games this weekend and no more shows for us this week either. We'll be back on Monday to react to week 17, the penultimate week of the.
Yeah, I saw you entitling Locked On Dolphins with penultimate. I'm like, okay, you little.
Yep.
I
nailed it. I'm going to abuse the word now that I know it. And it's a big vocabulary word for Joe.
Hey, this Scatterbo guy has over 2,000 yards from scrimmage on less than on 300 touches. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he wouldn't get offensive player of the year over Jamar Chase for you though, because he plays running back. Unfortunately,
no, that was a great. I came up with the right argument there. They have soft defenses in that division. Soft.
Okay, and who are the star corners that are strapping Jamar Chase in the AFC North?
Joey Porter Jr., Denzel Ward, Marlon Humphrey. Pretty good answer, huh?
That's going to do it for us here on the show. Appreciate you guys checking it out. Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino. Enjoy week 17. We'll be back again on Monday.